Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today because, well, we are walking right into a massive, multi-billion-dollar crime scene. And honestly, the wildest part of this whole thing, this massive operation is very likely happening right inside your own pantry.
To set the stage here, a recent investigation by Broken Canada uncovered a totally staggering reality. They reported that the jar on your kitchen counter labeled Pure Canadian Honey may contain not a single drop of real honey. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The golden liquid we all think of as wholesome, natural, and straight from the hive, it's actually become the target of an incredibly sophisticated global fraud operation.
Okay, let's dive into this contrast because it is fascinating. Real honey is this time-intensive, beautiful, living biological process. You have bees collecting nectar, adding specific enzymes, and fanning it until it's perfectly shelf-stable. Because it comes from nature, it leaves a very specific forensic fingerprint of regional pollen. Now contrast that with industrial syrup. This isn't made in a hive, it's made in a sterile reactor vessel. Fraudsters are engineering cheap rice syrups and literally stripping out all the natural pollen. They are churning out a total illusion. It's fast, it's cheap, and it is entirely fake.
So you might be wondering, how does this fake industrial syrup actually get to us? Well, the answer is laundering. In the context of food fraud, laundering basically means moving an adulterated product through a complex supply chain just to disguise its true origin with completely false paperwork. It is literally the food equivalent of moving dirty money through shell companies. The fake syrup stays exactly the same, but the paperwork creates this legally deniable fiction, smuggling it into Western markets right under our noses.
Let's break down the exact modus operandi of this heist step by step. Step 1. Ultrafiltration. The launderers force the liquid through microscopic filters to strip out all the pollen. Why? Because pollen is the forensic evidence of where the honey actually came from. Step 2. They engineer cheap C3 rice syrups in a lab designed specifically to mimic the exact sugar profile of real honey. And Step 3. By doing all of this, they successfully evade standard carbon-13 regulatory tests. They have quite literally built an entire illicit product category just to commit food fraud.
Because of this, standard supermarket honey jars often represent a multi-billion-dollar illusion. While this fraud has evolved rapidly, regulatory agencies are just severely outgunned. They're heavily relying on older, much cheaper testing methods. And look, the agencies aren't the villains here. They're just operating on a tight budget within a framework that simply hasn't kept pace with a shadow industry that specifically engineers its fake syrup to deliberately defeat those basic tests.
But the story definitely doesn't end there. Section 1. The Forensic Counterattack. Science is finally striking back.
Fortunately, modern laboratories are fighting back with highly advanced methods of honey authentication. We have moved way beyond the basic physical checks of the past, like just measuring sugar concentration or checking the color. Now, we are deploying cutting-edge scientific methods, shifting entirely to advanced molecular techniques to definitively prove food origins.
Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown of testing methods is how obvious the flaws in the old system are. The older standard, IRMS, or carbon isotope testing, it perfectly catches C4 sugars like corn syrup, but completely misses those newer engineered C3 rice syrups. Upgrading to NMR detects those sneaky C3 syrups by looking at a molecular fingerprint. But the absolute frontier, that is DNA testing, which actually sequences 10 to 20 million strands of genetic material.
Let's really dig into how this advanced DNA testing detects food adulteration, because this is the ultimate game changer. Researchers at places like the Selvia lab in Estonia have developed a process that is essentially a biological lie detector. Think of it as CSI, but for bees. Step 1. They extract the tiny bits of residual genetic material directly from the honey sample. Step 2. They sequence an absolutely astonishing 10 to 20 million DNA strands. Finally, Step 3. They feed that data into advanced machine learning models to compare those sequences against a massive global database of genuine honey. If the DNA deviates even slightly from authentic reference honeys, boom, the system flags it instantly. Fraudsters simply cannot outsmart a molecular lie detector.
And DNA isn't the only modern weapon we have. That brings us to Section 2, the molecular fingerprint. Scientists actively supplement all that DNA testing with another incredibly powerful tool, NMR, or nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. Here is how it works. It measures the magnetic resonance of atomic nuclei in the sample, which creates this incredibly detailed, full biological and chemical fingerprint. It can easily detect the exact C3 rice or beet syrups that completely fool older tests, and it does this by cross-referencing the sample against a massive database of over 28,500 reference samples from all over the globe. It literally catches everything traditional regulators miss.
And this brilliantly illustrates a massive shift happening right now in the market. We're seeing a rapidly increasing volume of European supermarkets actively demanding these advanced NMR molecular tests. They are completely done trusting basic, easily forged paperwork. They are now demanding hard chemical proof to prevent consumer fraud and protect the integrity of the products on their shelves.
So what actually happens when we unleash these advanced forensic tests on the honey sitting on our shelves today? Let's look at Section 3, the verdict. Embrace yourself. These forensic results are shocking.
The real-world results are absolutely devastating. In a recent highly rigorous DNA authenticity test of UK retail honey, out of 25 supermarket samples tested, 24 of them failed or were deemed suspicious. That is a staggering 96% failure rate. Only one single supermarket sample, just 4%, was actually verified as authentic honey. This multi-billion-dollar illusion is quite literally shattering in real time. But there is a very bright silver lining when we look closer to home. When researchers took honey sourced directly from local UK beekeepers and ran it through that exact same rigorous DNA testing, 100% of the samples passed. Every single one was proven to be biologically genuine. The science definitively shows us that real local beekeepers are producing the real thing, while the global industrial supply chain is just drowning in fraud.
To put it all into perspective, this has become a continuous, high-stakes arms race. Back in 2001, international tariffs prompted some of the very first evasion tactics by fraudsters. By 2015, U.S. labs had to expose the mass ultrafiltration methods used to hide origins. And now, in 2024, advanced DNA tests are revealing a 96% supermarket failure rate. It is a constant battle between global food launderers engineering brand new fakes and forensic scientists racing to catch them with ever-evolving molecular methods.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. Do you actually know what's really in your kitchen cabinet? The next time you reach for that cute golden bear-shaped bottle, ask yourself where it truly came from and how it was actually verified. I highly challenge you to seek out local beekeepers, support genuine agriculture, and taste the difference for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.